you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go. Welcome, my ladies and gentlemen, my family, my Chris Voss Show family, the family that loves you but doesn't judge you, at least not as harshly as your mother-in-law. She never liked you anyway, and she wanted her daughter to marry the other guy. What are you going to do? So, guys, welcome to the big show. As always, we bring you the latest authors, the Pulitzer Prize winners, presidential advisors. We actually have one later today. All the, governors, congressmen, you name it. These folks have been on the show, and they bring to you a lifetime of knowledge that they disperse to you, and we call it the Chris Voss Show Glow. Stories of the life, and as we always say, stories are the owner's manual to life. We have another gentleman on today, and he is going to be talking to you about how to become ultimately successful, make your first million. And it all comes down to working with Ron Douglas, the $1 Million Mentor, as he's built. He's on a mission to create 1,000 millionaires. Ron is the CEO of Mentoring Giants. He's on a mission to help 100 entrepreneurs reach their first 1 million. So you too could be part of that. With over 40 plus successful exits, his passion lies in guiding others to succeed. He helps people whose revenue is stagnant, struggle to scale their business, overwhelmed in constant competition or companion. Overwhelmed is a constant companion. I'm not reading that right. Okay. I'm trying to flip that in the third person. You lack, or if the people lack a clear roadmap. At Mentoring Giants, they leverage the real world experience and insights from Discovery Channel's blue collar backers to transform these challenges into tangible results. They cater to founders, entrepreneurs, and CEOs with R's of 10,000 or above. Is that MMRs? MRRs. There we go. Which sets them apart, only being a mentoring platform led by a CEO with 40 plus successful business exits, awarded with industry recognition and awards. Welcome to the show, Ron. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, bud?
Good. So give us your .com. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
MentoringGiants.com is probably the easiest place to find us. We're updating the website actually today as we speak. But anybody that listens to this, it'll be Mentoring Giants. Most of
Awesome sauce. And then tell us about the Discovery Channel connection with blue collar backers.
Yeah. So a couple of years back, I did a show on Discovery Channel called Blue Collar Backers, and got to go and help a lot of small businesses. And honestly, that's the reason Mentoring Giants got launched, was because I had so many people reaching out to me after the show. I had no idea that I was going to get bombarded with that many people requesting help on businesses. And so I launched Mentoring Giants.
You struck a vein. There you go. So give us a 30,000 overview of what you guys do in your words at Mentoring Giants.
I sat back and I started realizing that just about everybody that I've ever met has the skill sets already in place right now to be a millionaire. And they just don't have the puzzle pieces put in the right spots. And so I can literally take somebody that mops floors at a school and teach them how to start a cleaning company and create $1 million business in a short time. So, it doesn't matter what you're doing. I've realized just a lot of entrepreneurs out there just struggling or running in circles, and it's just a couple of small pieces that just need to be moved, and everybody can create $1 million company.
There you go. I've seen that happen where I've been trying to get a business to work, and sometimes it's new startups, sometimes it's in the throes of recession, and it won't work, and you keep moving those pieces around, and suddenly it's just like a light switch goes on.
Absolutely.
You're like, there's money coming in. This crap's working. What the hell? Who? It's kind of like what we used to say when we play golf, and you hit a perfect ball. And you're like, remember what you did wrong, whatever that was. Did somebody push a button or something? But no, usually you kind of know what it is. You flip a switch, and like all of a sudden the machine turns on. You're like,
oh yeah, you'll know.
There you go.
Yep.
So
you'll know the second it happens.
Give us a little bit more of your hero's journey. How did you grow up? How did you get the entrepreneurial bug? And tell us a little bit about some of these exits and stuff that you did.
Okay. Yeah, I'm the furthest from an entrepreneur you can possibly be. My dad was in the military for 22 years, and I was surrounded by military guys. Career military, and everybody was join the army, do your 20, do this, do that, and I just didn't mesh with that, and I could not figure out. I didn't meet my first entrepreneur until I was like 23. And I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was, didn't know how to spell the word. I mean, I honestly didn't know anything. I was, at the time I had, at 18, I broke my back and was paralyzed from the waist down. I had to learn to walk again. And yeah, it was tough. Wow. By 19, I was fully recovered.
Wow.
And I was lifting and exercising and trying to prove that I could do what I could do before. And still, the military didn't want me because I had broken my back. So I joined the prison system, and I was a Texas prison guard.
There you go. And, I was going to ask you which side of the prison system you joined. You got to be careful when you say that.
Yeah, right. I got to be careful. Yeah. So I was a prison guard in Texas, and at 19, and by 20 I was on the riot team, and by 21 I was training and head of the riot team.
Holy crap.
And that was interesting times. And I worked death row actually in Huntsville, Texas. I worked at several of the Supermax prisons in Texas. All the Supermax prisons that got opened up in the late 90s, I was there and opened them all up. And
those are wild.
And, that was a little wild time. And it was actually a mistake. That I even learned what an entrepreneur was. I was short on money, and my dad, was always into classic cars and always taught us how to work on cars. And on the way to work one day, I was looking. There was a wrecking yard, and I'd always pass this wrecking yard on my way to work. And man, I was broke. I needed money, and we didn't have enough money to make it to the end of the month.
Holy crap!
And I pulled in there, and I told the guy, I said, "Hey, man," I said, "I see you got a wrecking yard." I said, "Do you need any workers?" I said, "I'd love to help out or do what I can." And he's like, "Yeah, I pay daily and day labor, and you can come out here tomorrow, start tomorrow." I said, "Perfect, I'll be here tomorrow." So I started cutting old gas tanks out of cars that were getting crushed.
Oh, really?
In Texas, like 110 degrees. It sucked. Yeah.
Now, were you doing that as a spare? Were you doing that as a spare time job on top of your prison?
Yeah, I did it on my days off. Yeah. So in the prison, we worked 4 days on, 4 days off, 12-hour shifts. So on my 4 days off, I worked at the wrecking yard.
There you go.
And man, this is the first time I ever met an entrepreneur. And I was like, man, this guy owns the whole wrecking yard. He owns his house. He owns his shop. And I finally just asked him. I said, "Hey, man, how do I do this?" And we went to lunch. We sat down and talked about it. And he showed me how to start flipping cars. We were buying, some of these cars were too nice to crush. And I would take them and I'd get them running again, and I'd take them over to the prison while I was working and park them in the parking lot out there with a for sale sign in them, and I started selling them.
Oh, wow.
And before I knew it, man, I had 20, 30 cars out and sold, and half of them I'm owner financing and taking payments on. And I had a regular little small business going outside the prison and out in the parking lot. And I finally said, why? Once I learned I could make my own money without a boss, I always thought, hey, you need a job, you need money, go get a job,
Yeah.
And once I learned that I didn't need a job, I didn't need a boss in order to make money, man, that was it. I was gone, off to the races.
Wow. No, basically it's that old saying, necessity is the mother of all invention.
Absolutely. So I met my first entrepreneur at 23. Started my own business at 24. Made my first million by 26.
There you go. 26.
Yeah.
In the old brick and mortar world.
in the brick and mortar world, back, even I was
that's a whole
leading
different
edge
game.
internet.
Yeah.
Back when I'd take a picture of a classic car and I'd send it to somebody, it'd take them 30 minutes for it to download, And so, but yeah, I started out, flipping cars, and then before I knew it, I was shipping classic cars all over the world. I was shipping them to Australia, New Zealand, Denmark. Really? Yeah. So I was buying up classic cars all over Texas and shipping them everywhere. I'd ship them to New York and Minnesota, and but it was a pendulum swing, right? And so, I went from not knowing how to be an entrepreneur to that's all I did 24/7, and dang near cost me my marriage. So I had to slow down and get more get more what's the word, tactical about how I did things, so that it didn't cost me so much time. And so I started focusing on that and learned to bring the pendulum in the middle and get a better work-life balance. And anyway, long story short, I sold that company and I moved on to other businesses and I've had, it's so funny because once you learn how to do it, you can spot problems with other businesses. And I was actually, there was another accident. The guy's like, I'm going to sell this business. And I was looking at it and I could see all the problems with the business. And I was like, man, I'll buy it, man. So I bought this business and built it up, turned it around. I was like, hey, this is kind of like flipping cars.
Just flip businesses.
I just flip businesses instead. So I was like, man, this is a lot easier than flipping cars. So, I just started doing that. And before I knew it, I had 40 businesses under my belt.
Wow. That's awesome, man. And so were you just flipping small businesses locally and people for sale?
Yeah, I'd buy a cleaning company or I'd buy a landscape company or, things that were in trouble, I'd buy them. I bought a greenhouse company and, so sometimes it just depends on the company, but, I've like that greenhouse company, I bought that and he was out of, I don't remember, Kentucky or something. And I bought that company and shipped it over to Colorado and built it up to, when I bought it, he wasn't doing very well because he couldn't figure out the shipping. That's the problem. And when you can't ship, how do you ship a greenhouse, right? And so I broke them down into kits and put them on pallets and figured out the shipping prior.
And that was all the solving it needed, huh? It was just that
was the only thing it needed. Instantly, we went to we went to 6 figures a month out of that thing, and it was just, man, we were just going to town. And then we went to 7 figures a month, and it was like, okay. So and then once I get things figured out, it drives my wife nuts. Once I get things figured out and it's smooth operating, I get bored.
You get bored.
I sold it. Yeah.
At least you keep the wife, My problem is the reason I've been single all my life is I get bored. So variety is the spice of life, ladies and gentlemen. I took it to heart. No, that's really interesting. We used to do a thing we found after we assembled a lot of companies and we were still bored. And so we would run an ad in the paper saying we loan money to entrepreneurs in trouble. And then we get the applications and we just cherry pick stuff. There'd be so much stuff that I learned how to do it from basically commercial real estate guys. And they would show me how there was a lot of businesses that were asset rich, but cash poor. And, because they'd spent all their money and their model still wasn't working, or maybe it stopped working. Yeah, it was interesting to go into them. And then, some guys, they just won't let go. They're like that raccoon and Where the Red Fern Grows, where they will not let that shiny tin piece go until they die.
That's right. I love that movie.
Yeah, that's a great movie. It helped me save a lot of money on a lawsuit one time. Just that book. But that's a great way to do it. So now you've converted your services to where you're helping other people and you coach them. Tell us how that works. People can
because like you just mentioned, it's exactly what you just mentioned. Guys that don't want to let go, right? And so I build everything to sell, and so I teach. That's what I teach. I teach everybody else to do the same thing, right? And so if you're the keystone of your business, if you're the the thing that keeps your business together, then you don't have a business, you got a job.
That's true. That's true.
And
no one's going to buy you because they can't buy you out. You're the linchpin.
Exactly. I was just talking with one of my clients this morning about this. It's like, oh, and you know you're in trouble when all you're doing is bragging about what you bring to the table, because it's like, if you're that great and nobody else can do what you do, then how are we going to sell this business? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
we've had a number of people on the show.
Had to change his thinking.
Yeah. We've had a number of people on the show that teach about exiting and how to prepare your business at the very beginning. But it's funny. One thing I did find was I go look at a business and, I'd go walk through the business and stuff. And we'd already kind of gotten the paperwork in the books and stuff. It was just wild. If you called up somebody and said, "Hey, can we see your P&Ls?" They'd be like, "Fuck you. That's proprietary information." But when they were in trouble, man, they needed loan money. They'd tell us everything we need to know about running their business. And so we already had the P&Ls, and we'd already kind of know what's going on. We'd have a sniff of it. And then they go to the office and find that half the family works there, and half the family's robbing them blind and not doing anything, taking paychecks. And so then I make them an offer. But usually 9 times out of 10, I don't know about you, but we'd have to make them a walking offer. So it was either one of two things. It was either like, you're 3 months from bankruptcy and you're just not realizing it, and 3 to 6 months, whatever, from bankruptcy, you just don't realize that your model's all fucked up. Here's what we're going to do. We'll take over your business, save your credit, save your life, save probably your marriage, but you're going to have to go back to McDonald's or wherever the fuck you came from. And or sometimes it was giving some walking money if they had some valuable assets and stuff. Here's 10 grand, take a hike, we'll save your shit. Because there's a benefit to saving your credit and your marriage, and I don't know. Yeah. And everything else that you put into a business. I mean, you crash a business, you're going to hurt your credit. So good luck with that. And they're just, some people, they're just not at the point where they can be self-employed. I think you're right. Everyone does have the puzzle pieces, but I think there's some people that they need to develop the mindset a little bit more to get into it. But what was funny about it all is a lot of times the trip would be, they're like, well, Chris is interested in it. There must be gold here somewhere in this mine, right? And I sounds so familiar. And I explained to him, we have an empire of companies, so we're going to roll it into something. Sometimes it was just like taking their business. We owned a mortgage company, and just rolling in it. So then we just needed their furniture or expansions, and so they would be like, "Yeah, there must be gold here. I just got to figure out where Chris thinks it is." And so I give him a first right of refusal contract, give him $10 or whatever. And I say, look, I'm going to give you a first right of refusal, which means you have to call me when you want to sell this company first. But here's the true thing. Don't call me a week before fucking bankruptcy. Don't call me a week before bankruptcy. You got to do this now or in the next month or, 2 weeks or something. You can't be fucking around. And they always ask too. They're always like, are you going to fire my family? Yeah. Yep. Fire you, fire your family. I know exactly the fucking problem that's right here, right now. And I tell them, I'd be like, you're the problem, so you have to go. Can I stay on? No, you're just a lead weight, and I'm gonna probably change your whole dream around, so you're not gonna like it anyway. But you're not gonna get it. You're messing with my thing. You don't have a thing. It's bankrupt. So they'd always call me week before bankruptcy. Hi, I'm going to the bankruptcy court. Do you want to still buy them my business?
Always. They always did. Yeah. I don't understand why they wait that long, but yeah, they always do. And then, the one thing I did learn though was that by getting a business, a good deal on a business, opened up that entire industry sometimes, because sometimes you can leverage that. You buy one landscaping business and there's 4 in town, you go, And so you leverage that and you go buy the other 2 or 3. Before you know it, you own the whole landscaping industry in the town, and you can leverage it pretty well. And so a lot of times I did that, where I would buy one and then I start looking at others in that same industry, and before I knew it, I was owning 3 or 4.
Yeah, once you can dial in the perfect combination. So when people reach out to you, you're on a mission now to make all these millionaires. When
Yeah.
people reach out to you, how do they onboard with you? How do they handshake with you? How do they find out if they're a fit for both you and them?
Yeah, we always sit down. We do about an hour discussion. We have a discussion on it, and I really wanted to understand where they're coming from and whether they're teachable or not. That's the big thing.
Really? See, that's
Yeah.
what separates those other guys who won't give it up.
Yeah, exactly.
They just
They
go
got to
right
be
in the bank
teachable.
room.
They got to they got to come and say, hey, man, I'll do whatever you say, kind of thing. Not that, not to that point, but something like that, along those lines. And if they start acting like that and they're teachable, because there's a lot of people out there that got a good business. Let's say you're making 150 grand, and when I say $1 million and create millionaires, I'm talking about real millionaires, not on paper. I'm talking about
Not crypto?
million. Yeah, I'm talking about $1 million in the bank account, not this nonsense where I've got $1 million business, but I'm only making 40,000 a year. No,
fake it till you make it.
No, we're done with that nonsense. So so there's a lot of people out there that are making six figures, 150,000, 200,000, 250,000, but they can't figure out how to actually make the million, and they're close, and so it's just moving a couple of those puzzle pieces and getting those guys in place, and once they realize it, and a lot of times getting out of their own head, and once they realize that, you can take their business to multi-million dollars, and which means $1 million take homes then at that point. And so that's a life changer, man, because in my opinion, once you break the $1 million mark and you're actually making $1 million, you got $1 million in the bank, you're smart enough at that point, you can leverage, you can move things around, you can make big moves at that point, and you're capable of, it gives you options. You're capable of handling it from there. So my goal is to get people that are making six figures up to seven, eight figures.
Mm-hmm. So that's the net out of their business. It's not the revenue.
Yeah, I'm talking net. Anybody can make $1 million business in 3 months, but
I see that all the time with coaches that are like, I make $1 million business, and you're like, but how much do you net? Like,
right?
Yeah, I mean, $1 million revenue, sure, yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, for all I know, you're upside down $500,000. Like, we see that. You can see that with publicly traded stocks, how those work. So, it's always funny how that rolls. So, did they work with you like on an hour by hour basis? Do you have like a coaching?
Yeah, we do coaching. Yeah, we got a coaching program. It's usually about 6 months. Honestly, if you can't figure it out in 6 months, then you ain't gonna figure it out. So, I'm not one of those coaches that wants you on and wants you forever. If you can't learn it in 6 months, we're out. So we get in there. I teach you for 6 months. I do one-on-one for 1 month, and then it's pretty much 5 months with the group coaching and online. But after that, you should have it dialed in. Most guys have it in 3 months, and they're capable and they're off and running at that point.
Sometimes it's just moving a few things around, like you said. It really is.
Yep.
And the lights just go on, man. It's just funny as crap. And sometimes you've been looking at the whole time, going, "Should I turn that dial?" You're like, "Nah, that dial doesn't make it turn. Let's turn these other ones." And then we turned all the other dials. This is the only one left. If I can turn that dial.
And sometimes it's just belief. Honestly, I mean, they're in a small town, and every other, dry cleaner in town is making six figures, so they don't think they can make seven figures. And then once you show them the business model where you can make seven figures, they're going, "Oh, I just got to do this and this, and I can do it to seven figures." Yes.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it's just like simple innovation sometimes.
I took a laundry. The guy owned a laundromat, and I took him to $1 million in 30 days. Wow. It literally changed it because he was doing like 300,000 a year, but he had all these machines and they're shut down in the middle of the night, And I was like, man, hire a crew. And before you knew it, he was washing sheets for hotels and cloth tables for restaurants and all this stuff at night. And then he lived in in a town that had a huge RV parks in the summer. Mm-hmm. And so he did delivery, and you started driving around RV parks with a bunch of retirees and doing laundry service, pick up and drop off laundry services. I mean, before he had tripled his business in like 30 days.
Wow. That's simple and that easy. That's just amazing.
Yeah, it's that easy sometimes.
So give us your final pitch as we go out to consumers so they can pick it up. What's the minimum they need to be at again to onboard?
I like to. I mean, if you're making $100,000 a year, that's a good start. I can get you from $100,000. I can get you to $1 million probably within 6 months.
Wow.
Within reason. But I mean, within a year you'll get to there. But 6 months of training and you'll have it. You'll be dialed in.
There you go.
And you're well on your way.
And then the beauty of it is they get your training, so they're going to kind of learn how to fix and repair all these businesses that you've been in, that you've exited and stuff.
Yep, and, 40. Like I said, I've done it 40 times, and every industry you can think of. So, I mean, from blue collar businesses to online businesses to just about everything else. So, I mean, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So, I mean, it's really not that hard. It's really just getting systems in place.
I like how simple you make it. Thank you very much, Ron, for coming on the show. I mean, it really is because once you understand the basic mechanics of business, it's there. So thank you very much, Ron, for coming on the show. We appreciate you coming on.
You bet. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
There you go. And continued success in creating 1,000 millionaires. So book a call with Ron Douglas there. Give us your .com, Ron, before we go out.
mentoringgiants.com, all one word.
There we go. Thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss. Subscribe to the big LinkedIn newsletter and the 130,000 LinkedIn group over there. Also go to, I think, Chris Voss one on TikTok. I think we cover that. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Be good to each other. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next time. And that should have